Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Your host is Deborah Rue, CEO of Rue Global Impact and co-founder and chairwoman of Billion Strong, an identity and empowerment organization designed to bring billions of voices of persons with disabilities together. To join the global community and to donate to the cause, visit billion-strong.org. That's billion-strong.org. And now, on to the episode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah Rue, and this is Human Potential at Work. I'm the CEO and the founder of Rue Global Impact, and also very proud to be the executive chair of Billion Strong. My guest today has been on the show before, and she's such a dear, dear friend. If you've ever met Kate Nash, you probably are with me, and that we all love Kate Nash. She is such an amazing woman, and she has been on the show before, so we're going to make sure that we put that other episode so you can go and also watch that episode. But Kate, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It is so lovely to see you, and yeah, a dear friend. We are long-standing allies of many years, Deborah. So yeah, it's just so wonderful to see you and to be on your show, and yeah, wonderful.
Yes, and I agree. We're longstanding allies, and we were talking a little bit before air, and that we all need to come together as allies because there's plenty of work for everybody, and the more voices that come into this, the better it is. But Kate, why don't you reintroduce yourself to the audience? Tell us who you are, how you moved into this field, just a little bit about who Kate Nash is.
Oh, thank you, Deborah. So I head up a small social business called PurpleSpace. And I say it's a small social business, but we actually have a huge global impact in supporting organisations to set up disability employee resource groups or networks. Sometimes they're called affinity groups, sometimes they're called special interest groups. So we help organisations to do that from a standing start, or we help them to improve their effectiveness over time. And what we do within our membership hub is to join those networks together so that they can share best practice, steal ideas from organisation to organisation, and ultimately to build and to be supportive in building a better working and more accessible world for employees with disabilities. So that's what we do. Deborah, it was a long time coming. It's a lifetime of work. PurpleSpace was set up in 2015, and we now have 1,600 leaders across 130 global employer brands, reaching, we think, just over 500,000 employees with disability around the world. And we have a lot of fun, and we're worn out, but we smile a lot.
That's right. And also, you have Purple Light Up. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we're going to go back, and I want to talk more about this really important community that you've built of ERG professionals. Yeah. I've also heard the term BRG, business resource groups, and I don't know if that's but different people call them different things, but they're ally groups within a corporation. But first of all, let's talk about Purple Light Up.
Yeah. Well, when PurpleSpace, even before PurpleSpace was born in 2015, I had just a couple of years before then written a book called Secrets and Big News. And the purpose of the book, so we researched the views of 2,500 employees with disability, and we wanted to really start to unpack some of the challenges that we have as individuals with disability or mental ill health, to think about why we find it often so hard within the organisations in which we work to share personal information about our disability or ill health. And so we brought 2,500 people together. We debated the reasons why it's often difficult. And we came up with 15 big ideas to try. And one of those big ideas was to notice that around the world, in different pockets, the colour purple was starting to show up as a colour that is emblematic of the experience of disability. Now, back in the day, it was not universal by any stretch of the imagination, and not all organisations were wedded to using the colour purple. But nonetheless, there was a significant amount of organisations and different disability organisations that were using the colour purple. So we put two ideas together. One is, although many of us are politicised and understand the language and the definition of disability, and we don't shy away from those. We embrace and welcome those political and legislative definitions. Nonetheless, ultimately, the experience of disability can be so hard to navigate and feel good about, and to maintain and preserve and protect your brand as a high-performing individual. So we started to play around with this idea of the colour purple becoming synonymous with disability. And although we see around the world, and rightly so many different organisations using that colour purple, we ultimately were the organisation that chose deliberately to make it famous. So that's what we did, hence the word PurpleSpace all those years ago. Purple Light Up. So yeah, we launched in 2015, and it was about a year and a half later, I was watching on social media our colleagues, our wonderful colleagues from the LGBT plus communities, use the Pride movement and the rainbow flag, a wonderful movement, which was, of course, ignited in the 70s in San Francisco, where LGBT plus communities started to use the rainbow flag as a way of symbolising the growth of positive, life-affirming, we are here communities of change. So I put out on tweet, it was July 2017, I believe, and I put out on simple question on Twitter, is now the time to bring EIG leaders together using the colour purple as an emblem and using the hook of the United Nations International Day of Persons with Disabilities that we applaud and we celebrate. But might it be a nod of respect to the United Nations Day? And I couldn't believe what happened, Deborah. We were trending on Twitter as we built up to 3rd of December that year. We were trending, and it's a movement. I used to call it a campaign, but that does it a huge disservice, because we've beautifully lost control of this idea that Purple and EIG networks and the 3rd of December is a time to come together and to celebrate the economic contribution of disabled people. So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. It is to celebrate the economic contribution of the community of people with disabilities. And that's what we do. And it's very interesting watching it, because I am one of your ambassadors, as are so many others. And I don't know, something happened last year. It just exploded last year. I thought it was doing well before, but I was stunned. And I know I'm always very concerned about the U.S. getting involved, because sometimes politics get in the way in the U.S. and we're like, oh, we're not going to do that. We're not going to protect the planet. Anyway, whatever. We went back in the Paris Peace Accord, but it was just very gratifying to me to watch so many Americans join this movement. Now, the Americans were always in, but in last year, what happened last year? Because it had just, something happened last year. Yeah. It just seemed to be, it went from wow. It got so big last year. I loved it, watching it unfold.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And partly, Deborah, that is down to our incredible ambassadors like yourself. So these are individuals like you who are so well placed strategically to keep beating the drum that, of course, while the experience of disability can be challenging and it can test us, and it forces us often to think about what it means to be human, and it requires us to think deeply about how we navigate life in what is often an inaccessible and inhospitable a place to be. So all of that challenge exists. Our view, the views of our ambassadors, are that change happens in different ways. And if you keep on doing what you keep on doing, i.e. calling out all of the bad stuff, sometimes we fail to notice that it requires us sometimes to call out the great things that happen in our life, the positive things that come our way, the love that we can give, the love that comes our way, our ability to support each other and help those that come behind us by calling out the good things. So, yeah, it has built and built and built. And, yeah, the growth in the States, in Australia, in India now, across Europe, it is a wonderful instrument of change. And we're very proud to be the glue.
I think you should be proud. And I don't want to leave this just for a minute. Now, I do want to say that Kate and her entire organization has got behind Billion Strong and is one of our ambassadors and global advisors for that. And we are so grateful. But so we're doing this recording at the end of August, and December will be here very soon. So before we leave this part of the topic, what can everyone do to help with Purple Light Up? I know that it just exploded last year, which was great, but what can we do? Tell us more about how to get involved, how to support what you're doing, and how corporate brands can get, it's not too late. It's not too late. And it's not just about corporations. It's about everybody celebrating. Yeah. Everybody. Let's celebrate. And also, I want to make one more comment before you answer. The LGBTQIA, plus, as you said, they got together with pride. And nobody thought they could get together. They have such different ideas. They're different people. But they did. They got together and they fought for their rights. And now they have marriage equality in some countries. So they still have so much work to do. And of course, you and I know Billion Strong and others, we are very concerned about the intersections because there are people with disabilities that are part of the LGBT community. There are people with disabilities that are part of the gender women conversations. Tell us how we can do a better job of supporting and getting involved. I'm doing my part. I colored my hair purple. And I've seen the people wearing purple pantsuits and purple shoes. And there's some really fun ways to get involved. But tell us more how we can support this, because I'm very proud of this movement that you created.
Wonderful. So we like to ensure that there's always something for everybody to get involved. Our start point is, of course, the purpose of Purple Light Up, of course, is to celebrate the economic contribution. That's the higher purpose. And we deliberately choose not to have a charter, or there is no cost to get involved if you're an organisation. And we deliberately design that because, like you say, Deborah, human movements they come and they go and they get better and they morph and they unfold over time. But all people movements that matter and have traction over time are invariably led by the organisations and the individuals, I should say, that are most impacted by social injustice. And we like to build communities that can get together and to feel good about being who they are. This is what it's all about. Communities who feel positive and they feel good to experience the things that they do. So in terms of how, so we say that any organisation or individual who takes part in Purple Light Up is committing to taking an action. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. So for organisations, it could be those that are very proud, for example, to sign up to Valuable 500 and to put disability on the board agenda. So we work and we play hard with the wonderful Caroline Casey and her fantastic team, who not just in the private sector, but have created a real movement for chief executives to notice their role in leading and driving change. So that's one option, is to put disability on the board agenda. The second is for ERG leaders, the communities that we hold dear, to talk about the impact that they have created within the organisations that they work in. So all of these employee resource groups and networks, they are busy delivering activities, and so it's an opportunity for them to showcase what those what those activities are, the impact that they have created over the last year, or to pivot to get ready for new activities in 2022. And then the last is the individuals and the allies, those individuals who simply want to call out the talent of individuals. So they want to wear purple, they say we are an ally, or for individuals who may be struggling to find work, or individuals who are struggling to make sense of their identity. And we're so proud of the work that you're doing, Deborah, to help individuals across the globe to notice sometimes the struggles we have around our identity. So it's an opportunity for all of us on different stages of our journey to maybe wear a little bit of purple about our person and say we are here, we exist, and I'm learning how to be me. I may not have got it right, but I'm just learning to be who I am so I can bring my authentic self to the work. So hopefully that's enough for everybody to get out onto the social airwaves, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever methodology works for you, and to light up the virtual world purple. And then in addition, what we're doing this year, last year we had a 24-hour broadcast and it nearly killed all of us. However, this year we're making it a little easier. Certainly for our ERG leaders, they're going to be doing films. We call it leader to leader. So ERG leaders are going to work with their chief exec, do 2 3-minute films, and they're going to go out on the media airwaves. So we're going to flood social media with a cacophony of small films, and we're calling it Leader to Leader, where chief executives will talk to their ERG leads. And we're going to have a lot of fun.
That sounds wonderful. And before we leave the topic, so the hashtag is Purple Light Up. Purple Light Up. And will you just give a few examples of some of the things that have been done?
Yeah.
Because there's so many beautiful examples, but give us a few. And it was so interesting to watch it move around the earth.
Yeah.
Just like I've done before when I watch Santa Claus go around the earth or the new year come in. It doesn't come in to where I live right away. It comes into other parts of the world first. Yeah. So that's what I watched happen. It was beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
It is wonderful, Deborah. And yeah, absolutely. So we usually start to see actions and activities in Oceania. So Australia and I think New Zealand actually is the first where the sun rises, and we follow the sun across the globe. And as it moves into continents, 6, 7 continents, what we see is organisations and individuals choosing to take action and describe what that is. So this year, next month, we're launching a good number of what we call Purple Light Up storyboards. And these are summaries of how organisations have used the Purple Light Up to drive change. Because one of the things that we were finding it hard to do is to catch up and be able to articulate the real impact that comes from taking part. So there are many organisations now that are choosing to better invest in, for example, new ICT programs. So we're seeing a rise in senior accessibility leads around IT who are choosing to improve their budget allocation when it comes to accessible IT. They are choosing to appoint accessibility leads, and from that they're starting to drive a systematic way of improving the functionality of their IT within the business. That's having a massive impact in different organisations around the world. And not just those organisations who are known for delivering accessible product. They too, of course, are upping the ante. But those organisations who just needed a better way of systemising the way in which they deliver accessible IT. Others are improving maybe product and design, on whether you're a supermarket, whether you are a police force, whether you are a government department, whether you are a brand or a clothing line. Each of these organisations are using it as a way of improving accessible product design. So yeah, we've got lots of storyboards coming out. We're going to hit the airwaves. Lots of those names you will recognise. But yeah, it is about action from organisations, from allies and individuals who experience disability. It's about building communities through the Billion Strong. I hope everybody gets behind that. I know they will. It always takes time, Deborah. But I predict an avalanche of individuals who want to be connected around the world. We connect ERGs. You connect individuals. And yeah, it's going to be a wonderful movement. So yeah, lots to do.
Yeah, and Billion Strong is going to get really behind it, because we already were behind it. We're going to get really behind it as well. But also, some of the keep in mind, this is not just one day. Yeah. You should be tagging. I would recommend you tag Purple Light Up on anything you're doing that's positive for our community. Use the hashtag Purple Light Up. Use it all year round is welcome. And you had mentioned that a lot of it was happening virtually, but also we were seeing organizations put purple lights up, or put in a purple light on their building, or purple lights in the windows. It was just amazing how creative people got.
Yeah, 200 Canadian government buildings. There was Niagara Falls that went purple.
Oh, yeah.
Parts of the Sydney Harbour that went purple. There were parts of India. It was an absolute delicious array. And I'm always cautious about displays that are seemingly not attached to action. We have no time or truck. And we always are mindful of the critics of campaigns that use colour to drive change. But we're a pragmatic bunch, and sometimes it's about using the easy tools that we have within our toolbox to make it easier for people to be passionate, to be engaged, and to be motivated in driving change. It's one of the reasons we applaud wholeheartedly the International Paralympic Committee, who are using Purple 2 through the We Are 15 campaign. So yeah, it's all about building community, creating change, making movements.
I loved that hashtag We the 15. Please go out and support them. We the 15. I loved that they were talking about Purple Light Up. That just warmed my heart. I thought that was wonderful, because once again, we're all in this together. All right. So once again, Purple Light Up, hashtag Purple Light Up. Learn more about it. Join the movement. We need to celebrate where we've come. Certainly we have a lot to do. As Kate said, it's all about real, true action at the same time, but celebrate. We've got to celebrate too. All right. Now I want to move back to what you do with the ERGs, the employee resource groups, because something that in the first place, it is such valuable work. And you used a couple of terms as you were talking. You used the word protection, used the word social justice. And the other day I was talking to a corporation about Billion Strong and how we want to really focus on lived experiences with identity, but also, as Dr. Lamondre Pugh says, not only do we need to convince society that people with disabilities add value, we need to convince people with disabilities that we add value. We need to ourselves believe it, which is why I think it's so important, the work that you do with the employee resource groups. But the other day when we were talking to a group, one of the people said, "What are you going to do at Billion Strong to protect us if somebody disenfranchises us or discriminates against us?" And then she went on to give some real grounded examples of how she had been discriminated as an individual with autism. And then another woman that was in a wheelchair, she was also giving examples of how they'd been discriminated, and they're terrible. It's such sad. But I said, keep in mind that when you use the word protection from the lens of the United States, because we happen to be in the United States, that is we think about protection in different ways. What we're not going to do at Billion Strong is go and start suing people. That's just not what we're about. But the reality is, the more of us that come together, the louder our voices are. Yeah. And so I'm like you. I believe in doing things in positive ways and focusing on who's doing it right. And I don't want Billion Strong to be just about criticizing who's doing it wrong, because we all make mistakes along the way. I think we actually could be a little bit kinder with each other, pointing out the mistakes that you can make a mistake so easily. But anyway, whatever.
I love it.
But at the same time, I have seen, and we talked about this on the last episode when you were on, but I have seen corporations really fail with their employee resource groups, really fail. And they fell so bad that they actually wind up losing very talented individuals because they get so discouraged with the brand, the corporate brand in this case, and where they were so excited when their corporation said, we're going to do an ERG group so you can be heard. And then they proceeded to do the exact opposite. And the employees were so upset about it, they actually left. Yeah. So that is an example of how an ERG group can go terribly wrong. Now, they did not get professional help. And I'm sorry, in today's world, you need to get professional help. You need to go, and I say this all the time, you need to go and get involved with Kate Nash and everything they're doing, because there are a lot of ways to make mistakes. Yeah. There's so many ways to make mistakes, and we need to learn from our mistakes. But at the same time, if you are not talking to the right people, you can make those mistakes worse and worse. So I was wondering if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I so agree, Deborah. I mean, it's the reason we came about is because I suppose I was personally frustrated. I mean, I've worked within disability change for the whole of my career, and I've worked with politicians and jurisdictions around the world and many employers. And when I first started in this field, I kept hearing how there was such a growth in terms of gender networks and ethnic minority networks and LGBT plus networks and faith. But I kept hearing how, a lot of employers felt that there was no case for disability networks, or I was told, of course, what has somebody who has a visual impairment got anything to do or anything common with you with arthritis? And I thought, of course, although our disabilities might manifest themselves differently, if you scratch below the surface, we have so much in common. And it's not just about the ways in which the world can be more elegantly designed in order to accommodate us, but it's also about how we as individuals make sure that we are not derailed by the soft bigotry of low expectation. And it's how do we build our inner confidence? Our strapline is building disability confidence from the inside out. And it's a play on words. It's about encouraging employees with disability to notice sometimes they don't always have the skills to be out and loud and proud and confident, and to head off at the pass sometimes those low expectations. So it is about legislation, it is about tackling those inaccessible, but it is about, we have to hold a mirror up to ourselves and notice the things that we need to do. So yeah, for us, it's about connecting networks, it's about delivering great leadership. And as you say, it's about tackling the fact that not every disability ERG can access high quality leadership know-how. That's what we do. We deliver soft and hard skills to deliver really high performing, highly powerful employee resource groups. That's what we're all about.
I agree. And I don't know any other organization that does what you do. So I always recommend. Some things you can do internally, you can just figure it out yourself. Some things you really need to get the experts involved and the community involved. And so that's why I believe that if you're creating an ERG as a corporation, you need to be part of what you're doing. And if you have an existing one and it's not very effective, please go and get professional help, because these ERG groups can be so invaluable to the corporation. It can lead to productivity, happier employees. You want to be an employer of choice. You want your employees to be able to be a champion for you and to say, I love working for this brand. Yeah. But if they're not heard, I just think there's certain things you shouldn't even try to do yourself, and this is one of them. Yeah. You need to go to My PurpleSpace and you need to get professional help. But also, I would like you just for a little while to talk about, once again, you mentioned it about the 1,100 plus corporations or brands working with you, and that you have a community of about 500,000 people, which is amazing. And they're talking about the issues, they're celebrating the gaps. Think, if you're a corporation or you're a big brand, think about the value to your company having access to this community. Now, once again, we're building Billion Strong. We want 1.3 billion people to come together and be proud of our identity. But if you are a corporate or an organizational brand or a government and you do not have employee resource groups, or you're not running them effectively, your employees are going to notice. Society's noticing this. So I just think it is so important that corporations and brands come and work with you. I really do.
We love your energy for the work that we do. Debbie, thank you so much. Yeah, I agree. We deliver our networkology foundation know-how through 12 leadership themes. And we've built these swim labs. There's a very sophisticated bank of resources and peer group sessions and learning and webinars and podcasts, and so all of our members access. But one of the many things we know our members enjoy is sitting in a virtual room when you're talking to a network leader from Unilever over in India, as opposed to another network leader in GSK Australia, another network leader from Merck in the States. It's that feeling, the breaking down the loneliness of the long distance agent for change. And its business is saying it really matters to us that we learn directly from our own people through these vehicles of change. So yeah, we're excited by what we do. We enjoy the support of our wonderful ambassadors like your good self. And it's lovely.
Because it takes all of us. Right. And I agree. I love staying in the lane. And then you had mentioned our beautiful Caroline Casey, who we both love, Dr. Caroline Casey, and what they're doing with the Valuable 500 and the amazing team that's doing it with her. And I think it's fabulous that 500 corporations have come together and committed to include us, but we have to help them. We have to help them be successful with this. We want them to have a win. And it's going to take brands working with you to make sure their employees' voices are heard. And also think of it as, from a brand perspective, think about, you don't even know where to begin. You have a group. Are they feeling heard? There's so many ways that a brand will benefit from this, because it will give, not only will it make your employees feel heard, but it will also allow them to meet others so they could share ideas. Oh, you did that with your brand? Wow, we could do that and help our brand. And I have said it, and I've written a book called Inclusion Branding. It's a few years old, but our expectations, especially of corporate brands around the world, has changed. We expect corporations to be good corporations, and that means you're giving back to society. One way you can give back to society is make sure you have a diverse workforce, and these people feel heard. This is what you can get by working with Kate Nash. I just think some things you can do by yourself, some things you need to bring in the experts. I would give you another example of bringing in experts. You can try to make everything accessible, but sometimes it's really nice to have experts that know how to make things accessible. ERG groups, you need your experts, and you might be able to figure out how to do an ERG group, but having the community, the global community, because if you're a corporate brand, chances are you don't have employees just in one country. You have employees all over.
Exactly, Deborah. Absolutely.
Right.
And we know that there are so many different ways to get things done. And we know sometimes, of course, all organisations will from time to time have commercial sensitivities where they can't share a piece of information across an organisational boundary. But you know what? And I know you believe this too. I've heard you talk about this. We see in disability, there's a real generosity of spirit now to notice that we're at a tipping point of change, and the different levers and drivers and organisations, whether they are employer, trade associations, beautiful ones around the world, whether it's the wonderful campaigns like Billion Strong and Valuable 500 and We the 15, PurpleSpace, it's all about how all of those drivers are needed and necessary in order to create this real tipping point. And we now, as individuals, we have a duty of care to make this happen. And I strongly believe that we're in a really good decade, a really good place to build a better working world, not just for employees, but for all people around the world.
And I know we're almost out of time and that you have a birthday party to go to, so I want to be very conscious of your time. But COVID-19, I do want to talk about this for a second, the pandemic. We've learned a lot during this pandemic. It's been really scary. The losses have mounted. We won't talk about the scary parts, but we've learned a lot. And also we've seen, I know in the States, I've seen more people with disabilities self-identify than ever before. And we've seen, telework? You mean you actually can telework? Yes, you can. But it seems at the same time, it's also created even a little bit more complexity for an employer. And I think, and even more, they need to create employee resource groups or have employee resources that work together. And of course, employee resource groups, you should have multiple. You should be representing the intersections, but they should be coming together more and sharing ideas and everything. Because sometimes the employee resource groups feel, you just like the women's group better than our groups, or you like the LG, whatever it is. So I just think the complexities have gotten a little bit more complex. And I just was wondering if you would address that.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, Deborah. I mean, there's the very obvious, the health outcomes, of course, for people with disabilities during COVID have not been good around the world. We know that. But if you dig a little deeper, we know, of course, there have been some gains in terms of working in a supercharged digital world. It's made it easier to encourage remote working. And while, of course, different organisations in different countries are creating enhanced hybrid working policies and remote working policies, there really is a duty, I think, to notice not just employees with disability, but those who will have long COVID for a long time yet. And equally, those of us, COVID-19 has impacted on everybody around the world in different ways. It is a universal experience that is often only, gotten through war or famine or poverty. And I think what we will see, I truly choose to believe, employers to notice that it has challenged all of us and our own mental health. And it's really prudent now to ensure that you learn directly from own people in order to build these new hybrid, modern, remote working policies. There's an opportunity in the challenge.
I agree. And I, of course, am joining from the States. And so we like to sue each other in the States. And we see the lawsuits way up. And the reality is even more so. One thing I talk a lot from corporations. This is really any employers. But there are a lot of rules. There's a lot of ways to get in trouble. There's a lot of ways to embarrass your brand. And I know I was talking to an individual, very talented individual, that the big brand that she worked with was telling her she needed to come back and not telework anymore. And she was like, I don't want to, Deborah. And I said, sounds like you have some decisions to make. And she did. She actually left the company and another company got her. And the company that lost her didn't want to lose this woman. And so you're going to find that more and more. So once again, don't want to nag, but I'm going to nag and say, certain things don't try to do yourself. Please go and talk to Kate. They're very reasonable. They're not very expensive. But what you get back in safety and reduced risk and great ideas and having your employees feel like they are being heard and listened to is invaluable. She could charge whatever she wanted and be worth it. Anyway, all right. I just want to say that, sorry, Kate, but I just firmly believe that there are too many ways to get in trouble. Sorry, speaking as an American. But so on that note, tell the audience how to find out more about your work.
I would say one simple thing, just hit the website, www.purplespace.org. Next month, in fact, when your podcast comes out, we will have new material about Purple Light Up. And just come and get involved. Tell us what's on your mind. If you're part of an organisation that has an ERG, come and join us. Come and join the community. Have fun. And Deborah, thank you for the opportunity, one, to meet you and hang out with you again, and for us to talk about the things that matter in this world. So I love it. Yes, I've got to go to a neighbour's birthday party, and I'm going to have an early tonic. However, this if you're listening to this in the morning, fear not, I don't have gin and tonic in the morning.
It is evening time. So, but once again, purplespace.org, and they are all over social media. Very easy to find them. Just go to Purple Light Up and you will find all the work they're doing, but join it. And by the way, I just want to say, even if you're not one of her members, you can still be part of Purple Light Up. It's for all of us. That is something they're doing for all of us. But thank you, Kate. Thank you for your work. You be safe. And I look forward to celebrating my Purple Light Up with you and everybody else. And thank you for being an ambassador and a global advisor for Billion Strong, too. We appreciate you. You go have fun.
Appreciate it. Ditto. Back at you. Lovely to see you, and see you again soon.
Yes. Thank you.
You've been listening to Human Potential at Work. To learn more about Rue Global Impact, visit rueglobal.com. And to learn more about Billion Strong, an identity and empowerment organization designed to bring the billions of voices of persons with disabilities together, you can join the global community and donate at billion-strong.org. That's billion-strong.org.